Good morning, everybody. Matt Modi here to give you my favorite NBA player prop picks for today. We're talking Friday. Happy Friday, everybody, November 22nd. I'm going to have 4 NBA player prop picks for you guys to lock in, including one ladder play as well. So it's technically 5 total bets, backing 4 players with 1 juicy ladder climb. Finally, we're starting to get on a little bit of a roll. We had another nice day yesterday after a nice day we had on Wednesday. Yesterday we went 3-1. We were up about 2.25 units with our NBA player props. Yesterday was a great day. We cashed out Cade Cunningham over 15.5 rebounds plus assists. We cashed out Rudy Gobert double-double. We cashed out Chris Paul 10 plus assists. And the only play we lost was Julian Champagnie, 3+ made 3-pointers. He made 0 in the first half. He made 2 in the second half. If we could just get one of those shots in the first half to go in, we would have swept the slate. But we didn't, but that's okay. That's kind of why we play these plus money plays, because you go 3-1 and you can have a pretty good day overall in terms of units profited. On the entire season, we've still got a ways to go. Obviously down over 8 units on the year. Just a kind of a rough stretch that we had. You know, we've had multiple days where we've had 3 hooks and stuff like that, which is the nature of the business. Complaining can only get you so far. The only thing you can really do is just be better with your next set of picks, which is how the last 2 days have gone. So hopefully we can continue that tonight. Of course, remember to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let's get into today's picks. So play number 1, we are heading to the Hawks versus Bulls game. And we're taking Clint Capella over 11.5 points, -1, 13 odds at Caesars. You know, normally I would like to find a plus money price on this, but no book was offering over 12.5 for plus money. And I didn't think quite that it was worth a 15 plus. So that's why we're just going with what you see on the screen here. But this is an awesome play, in my opinion, backing, or I should say fading, targeting, whatever you want to call it, this Bulls defense. I mean, they're just a great defense to target for player props. They're like one of the number 1 defenses that you want to target. They're horrible defensively, and they play at a really fast pace. Just leads to beautiful stat accumulation. They have the worst net rating in the entire NBA, defensive net rating, worst defensive net rating in the entire NBA over the last 10 games. And they also play at the 3rd fastest pace as well. Again, just a beautiful combination. The team that plays at the fastest pace in the NBA, that would be the team that they are playing in this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks. So this game, it's going to be a track meet. It's just going to be ripe for stat accumulation, including this play on Clint Capella. Hopefully, I absolutely love this one. The Bulls defense is bad in a lot of ways. One of the ways in which they are bad leads directly to Clint Capella points. The Bulls are the worst defense in the entire NBA guarding the pick and roll man. They allow, quite literally, number 1, the most points allowed to the pick and roll man. Number 1, no defense allows more than them. That's what number 1 means. That's what the most means. And unsurprisingly, Clint Capella, the play type in which he scores the majority of his points, that's as the pick and roll man. Now, all this data is per Props Madness, which is a great website that'll just track where a player scores and then match that up with the opposing defense. So number 1 play type is roll man. Number 2 is off of cuts. Unfortunately, the NBA.com doesn't have data defensively for how defenses guard cuts. No idea why, they just don't. So I can't give you anything there. That's not Props Madness's fault. That's the NBA.com's fault. But the 2 play types after cuts. So number 1, again, roll man. Number 2 is cuts. The next 2 are putbacks and transition. And the Bulls are weak guarding those 2 play types as well. They allow the 9th most points per game via putbacks and the 6th most points per game via transition. Overall, the Bulls have the worst defense, number 1, worst, guarding the restricted area. Clint Capella scores 79% of his points in the restricted area. Again, that comes as no surprise if you know anything about Clint Capella. It also comes as no surprise that if you look at, according to Props Madness, 6 centers with the same scoring profile as Clint Capella have played against the Bulls this year. All 6 of them have gone over their point prop over-under, and they've gone over that number by an average of 5 points per game. That includes Clint Capella, who played the Bulls earlier this year. He scored 20 points. His over-under was 10.5. And Clint Capella has hit the over in 10 straight games playing the Bulls in Nikola Vucevic. 10 straight games. It's crazy the success he has against the Bulls. It makes total sense when you dig into it. Let's make it 11 straight going over his point prop against this Bulls team. That's play number 1. Play number 2, we might as well stick in the same game here. Hawks versus Bulls. Trey Young over 11.5 assists, plus 105 odds at bet 365. Classically system play here. take your point guard assist props against the Bulls. We've been targeting this all year, and I know it's been a rough year, but some of the success that we have had has come in this system. Obviously, this is heavily correlated to a Clint Capella prop, right? Like if a roll man is scoring, almost 100% of those points are going to be assisted, right? So if Trey Young has a lot of assists, that most likely means that Clint Capella has a lot of points. Obviously, it is a little bit of a risk backing two plays, kind of with the same logic needed to happen for them both to cash, but they're both really good plays, and I don't want to choose one and then get screwed if the other one cashes and one didn't. But anyways, the Bulls the Bulls have allowed the most assists per game to point guards in the entire NBA, and they're also the best matchup for point guard assist props as well, per props.cash. Not only do the Bulls allow the most points per game to pick and roll rollmen, which as I mentioned, is almost 100% an assisted play for whoever is running the pick and roll, but they're also weak in a bunch of areas that leads to assists to playmakers. They allow the fourth most points per game via dribble handoffs. If you're running a dribble handoff, the person that is handing the ball off to the person collecting the handoff, that's generally going to be an assisted play. It depends on how many dribbles the player takes after receiving the handoff, but more often than not, if it's 2 or fewer dribbles, that will be an assist. They allow the third most points, the Bulls do, third most points off of screens. Player running around screen, catches it and shoots it. That's going to be an assisted play. Again, almost 100% of the time. And the Bulls allow the 7th most points per game via spot ups. 7th most points per possession. 7th most points per possession via spot up shooters. Again, that's most likely going to be an assisted play. All these plays I mentioned, roll man, dribble handoff, off screen, spot up, all those are more often than not assisted plays, and the Bulls are bad in legitimately every single one of them. So when you hear that, it's not shocking to also hear that the Bulls allow the most assists per game to point guards. And if you look at Trey Young, as much as he has struggled as a scorer recently, he's been pretty good pretty much this entire season from an assist perspective. He leads the NBA in potential assists per game. Only Jokic is ahead of him in terms of actual assists, but Jokic has a much better assist to potential assist ratio, which I think honestly has a chance to flip in terms of Trey Young's favor, because he is due for some positive regression in the assist to potential assist ratio. Now you look at the last game that the Hawks played was against the Warriors, a much better defense than the Bulls, let me tell you, much better. Trey Young still had 11 assists in that game, so yeah, he would have just gone under. He had 24 potential assists. I will gladly take 24 potential assists if he just needs to get, or we just need a 50% hit rate, because more often than not, you should be hitting around 55 to 60%. In the game before that, 2 games ago, Trey Young had 19 assists, not potential assists, 19 actual assists on 33 potential assists. It's just a crazy numbers that he is accumulating. It's because he does everything on offense. You know, there's no DeJounte Murray, so Trey Young has the ball in his hands 100% of the time he's on the floor. Trey Young's success as a passer this year includes a game against the Bulls in which he had 16 assists on 23 potential assists. Overall, he's hit this in 6 of his last 9. That's very nice games against the Bulls. And he's also done it in 3 of 4 dating back to last season. Very confident that Trey Young goes over his assist prop tonight. That's play number 2. Play number 3 is also going to be our ladder play. Pacers versus Bucks game. I'm taking Giannis Antetokounmpo over 6.5 assists. And I'm also taking him to get to 8+ assists. So that 6.5 number you can get at plus 122 odds at FanDuel. And the 8+ number you can get at plus 210 odds at FanDuel. Now, this might be a little bit of a zag. You know, I don't really look at what other people in the business are doing before I give out my own picks. I'm guessing a lot of people are going to be on Giannis's points prop as opposed to assists. Again, I don't know that. That's a guess. But I actually kind of like to play on his assists a little bit better. You know, everybody's going to want to take his points because they remember what happened last year. Giannis, for those who missed it, he scored 64 points against the Pacers. That at that time, that was a career high, and I think it still is. But he thought that they were being petty and didn't want to give him the game ball for a career high. So the Pacers took it back into their locker room. Giannis, like a complete and utter psychopath, was seen like sprinting into the locker room, trying to get the ball back, also looking like he was trying to fight everybody. So everybody's going to remember that and say, oh, Giannis, he's going to go off against the Pacers. And if you look at the 3 games that Giannis played up until that 64-point performance, 54, 37, and 64 points. So people are going to see that and want to hammer Giannis's point prop. And the reason why I am on his assist is because they played twice after that 64-point performance, and the Pacers completely changed up how they guarded him. Previously, the first 3 games when Giannis went off for like 200 combined points, basically, they let him just be guarded one-on-one. They said, Giannis is going to eat, and we're gonna guard him one-on-one. After that, after Giannis cooked them, they no longer did that. They were much more aggressive guarding him. And because of that, he did not hit his point prop in either of the next 2 games against the Pacers. Instead, he had 11 assists and 8 assists. More importantly, he had 17 and 15 potential assists in those 2 games. So if we need him to get to 7 actual assists, and he's hovering between 16, 17, 18, 15, 16, 17, whatever, potential assists, that's a pretty good conversion rate. That it's a realistic outcome. And the Pacers won both of those games. So the guess here is that they're probably going to play a similar strategy against Giannis tonight. I don't know why they would go back to just letting him cook them one-on-one the entire game. And if you look at the history of this season specifically, looking at the same stat that Props Madness does for you, players with a similar scoring type, similar profile in general to Giannis have performed well against the Pacers from an assist perspective. 3 of 4 similar players have hit their assist prop, and going into it, that includes Brandon Ingram, had 7 assists. His over-under was 5.5. Zion Williamson had 10 assists. His over-under was 5.5. Paolo Banchero, before he got hurt, had 8 assists. His over-under was also 5.5. And Giannis, he's not been Trey Young level as a playmaker, but he hasn't been terrible either. He's gone over 6.5 assists in 7 of 14 games overall, but he's done it much better recently. He's hit this over in 4 of his last 5 games, and he's been scoring a lot in those games as well, so it hasn't gotten a ton of attention. And if you just look at his most recent game, that could very well happen tonight. Similarly bad defense against the Bulls, as I talked about. Giannis scored 41 points, but he still had 8 assists on 15 potential assists. So I love the over 6.5 for plus money. I love laddering it up to 8+ as well. He could still score 50 points and get to 7 assists in this one if he just has the ball in his hands the entire game, which I'm kind of expecting to happen between him and Dame. That's play number 3, along with our ladder play. And then our 4th and final pick of the video, we're heading to the Celtics versus Wizards game, and I'm taking Payton Pritchard, 4+ made 3-pointers, +130 odds at Fanatics, backing PP in a very juicy matchup against the Wizards. Now, Pritchard's cooled down a little bit since his just absurd start to the season, but it's not like he's been bad either. He hasn't cooled off to the point where he just can't make anything. And in a plus matchup tonight against the Wizards, which has blowout potential, I love backing Payton Pritchard. If you look at the entire season, he's only hit this in 7 of 15 games. And it's been a tale of 2 seasons, right? He started hot and then he cooled off. He went over, like he hit 4+ 3-pointers in 5 of the first 7 games. And then he's only done it in 2 of 8 games since. But if you just look at this 8-game stretch, 4 separate times he hit exactly 3 3-pointers. So it's not like we're backing a shooter who just cannot make anything, right? And the good news about backing Payton Pritchard is now he gets consistent minutes. It's not quite like last year where he needed an injury or it needed to be a blowout for you to rely on consistent minutes for him. Whether it's a blowout, whether the game is close, he's going to get his 25 to 30 minutes, and he's going to get his shot attempts up as well. He averages over 8 3-point attempts per game this season, and he should get up another between 8 and 10 against this Wizards team, right, who is not good at guarding the 3-point line. According to Props Madness, the Wizards are the 4th worst defense in the NBA guarding the above-the-break 3-pointer, but the majority of in which those above-the-break 3-pointers come from are mostly from catch-and-shoot 3-point opportunities. You look at the last 10 games, the Wizards have allowed the 7th most catch-and-shoot 3-point attempts in the NBA. Payton Pritchard, 65% of his shots come from the above-the-break 3-pointer, and the majority of those are catch-and-shoot above-the-break 3-pointers as well, as opposed to off the dribble. Now, the Wizards are also bad off the dribble as well, so if this ends up being a game in which Pritchard has the ball in his hands a lot, he could still get up a lot of 3-point attempts against the Wizards. The Wizards have also allowed the 3rd most corner 3-point attempts in the NBA and over the last 10 games, and Pritchard doesn't shoot nearly as much as he does above the break, but 16% of his shot attempts come from the corner as well. That's why I like this as a 3-point play for Pritchard as opposed to a regular point play. 80% of the shots that Pritchard takes come from 3-point range. The Wizards are one of the worst defenses in the NBA guarding 3-point line. Makes complete sense to me. Rounding out our 4th and final pick of the video, and that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Again, make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then the last thing I'll mention before I get out of here is that I do have a Dub Club where I send all my plays out for $5 a month. If you're interested, the link to that is in the description as well as the pinned comment. Dub Club, if you're unfamiliar, is just a service you can sign up for. to get plays sent to your phone, text, email, telegram from people like me. Again, I only charge $5, and the way it works is the plays you see me give out for free on YouTube and on Twitter, those are the same plays that you get on the Dub Club. The only difference is you get them early. So like if you're watching this YouTube video and the odds are different, like when you're trying to lock them in, the odds are different than what you see I gave out. Unfortunately, I can't help odds changing. So the first thing I do is send it out to Dub Club with a screenshot of my bet slip showing you that I was able to get the odds that I'm sending it out at. Or some people don't always have time or don't always care to watch the YouTube videos. That's also why we have the Dub Club, so they can just lock them in and not care about any of that stuff. But if you're not interested in that, no problem. You can still get everything for free on YouTube and on Twitter, and that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.